Well, a really great afternoon to everyone who's listening to this live. And if you're listening to this Melbourne time, it's good afternoon. Otherwise, if you're in WA, it's a good morning to you all. Welcome to you. This is Natalie Ashdown from Open Door Coaching, and welcome to our final coaching cafe for the year. I feel a bit nostalgic, actually. I feel this has been a really great opportunity actually to think back on our year. So today we're going to be thinking about the highlights where we've actually coached through COVID and out the other side. Highlights and lessons from our Coaching Cafe season. And it's so nice to see everyone on the line today joining me, or if you're listening to this whilst you're running or vacuuming or whatever you're doing, Christmas shopping, thanks for joining us. So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians of the lands on which we meet today and their continuing connection to the land, waters and communities of Australia. We pay our respects to them and to their elders past, present and emerging. Don't forget, if you're interested in your ICF CCE hours, you can actually claim those from us by just sending a message to support@opendoorcoaching.com.au. So our agenda for today is a chance for us to do some reflection together, really. That's my profile picture at the moment while we're in full Zoom mode, delivering the certificate for in workplace and business coaching. I really want to share with you some of the highlights from our cafes this year and get some lessons from our leadership perspective. And I really encourage you to be part of this webinar, as you always have been. I've popped a ideas board link in our chat box. So if you want to interact by talking and sharing your highlights and your lessons, pop a message into the ideas board or into the chat box and we can pick them up as we go along. So the link is right at the top of the chat. Hopefully you can see it there. Let me just put it in the chat box one more time so you can pick it up. And so if, as I'm talking through these reflections and the lessons, you can feel free to actually pop your reflections and we'll do this actually together. There you go. So I've just posted it again for anyone that can't see it. There you go. So as you know, this year has all been about, and every year that we hold the coaching cafes, we are all about creating that community, sharing our learned experience through thought-provoking conversations and just making sure that we can connect. And this year has been really important to be able to connect as well. Oh, Eleanor's saying the link doesn't work. Let me just try that for you. Oh, you're right. Something's gone wrong. Okay, let me try it one more time. I might have to get you to type them in. Here we go. I've got it here. See if that one works. Ah, CJ, thank you. Oh, it's not. Oh, what a pain. I don't know why it's not working. Let us have a think about that quickly together, because I really would like us to be able to do this. Let me go to here. Sorry about this. One more second. Does that one work? Oh, that seems to have opened it. See if that one works for you. That opens it for me. It might have been, I might have had it in save mode or something, but hopefully that works. Alrighty, let me carry on. Perfect, great. So what I was hoping is, as we actually do this reflection together, you can think about what are your highlights, reflections, and leadership lessons in leadership as we go along as well. So feel free to just pop in anything you like there, and I'll look forward to picking up your ideas as we go along as well. Fantastic. And, you know, as always, we've been part of this community together through the whole year and having thought-provoking conversations, collecting CCEUs as we go along. So when I was thinking about the highlights, I grouped our discussions into 5 different themes, if you like. And the first one is our ability to adapt. And I think this year, a highlight of our years together is been just watching and thinking and ourselves adapting to the environments that we're finding ourselves in. I'm reminded of the quote by Sir John Whitmore when he shared with me that coaching's not hard, it's changing our habits that's actually hard. And what I was thinking about this year is that COVID for many people has been an extremely difficult year. And what has been difficult is that need to change our habits continuously, change our habits to change the way we're doing things, to change our approach and change our mindset. All of those things are really hard. We've introduced coaching to many people, and the tools and the techniques we use are not hard. It's actually our habits that are hard. So I was reflecting this year, I was reflecting on this year, thinking about how we've learned lessons about change and how we've learned lessons about changing our habits. And I was wondering if you popped a message into the chat box or into the ideas board, if you were thinking about, well, what things have you had to change in terms of your habits? With the executive coaching that we did, a lot of people had to change their habits around exercise, particularly in Melbourne when we were in lockdown for such a large amount of time. So changed our habits around exercise, changed our habits around how we come to and from work, obviously, and how we maintain that balance around work and home life as well. So a lot of people were actually going for walks around the block or in the mornings and in the afternoons to make that transition from work to home. And that was a really big lesson to make sure we're keeping those boundaries in place as we actually adapt. Of course, we ran a series of webinars around this time when lockdown really first started. We were really focusing on how do we coach people under stress, focusing on different personality types, looking at virtual teams, coaching people through in their virtual teams, and then troubleshooting that whole working from home. So there was lots of great tips and things that we actually shared, and of course picked up lots of different ideas from the alumni as we went along. So you can feel free to pop a message into the ideas board or pop a message into the chat, and we can pick up your thoughts there. The second thing I'd like to highlight to you is around leading change. So I think we all learned lessons this year about how do we lead change? How do we be champions of change given everything that's going on in our workplaces? A CEO that I used to coach said to me, anyone can lead people through the easy times. So any half-baked manager can lead a person through the easy times, the good times. He said, the true leaders stand up when the difficult time comes. So we demonstrate our true leadership when we are coaching people, when we're leading people through the more difficult times. And I love this quote by Robin Williams, who said, no matter what people tell you, words and ideas can change the world. So I think this year in particular, when we've been sharing our coaching cafes, it's the words we've shared, it's the ideas we've shared, it's the questions we've shared with each other. It's the way that we've communicated with each other and connected with each other around change. I think that's been a real highlight for me. Of course, we did webinars on coaching through change. We looked at whether we should throw those models out, like, Kotter's model and all the change models that are so important to us. Are they still relevant? And that was an excellent webinar where we actually went back and took a look at Kotter's models. We looked at good old Tuckman, forming, storming and norming and performing around change. We focused on calmness as an attractive leadership quality. And that was one of the highlight webinars, I think, for me, when we actually focused on attributes of leadership through coaching through change. And of course, why leaders need to ask for help. So whilst we were holding these webinars, we were learning lessons because, as you know, the webinars come from all of the coaching that I've been doing or the team's been doing, the themes that are going up through the year. So there was a very strong theme, I think, about midway through the year, particularly in Melbourne with executives in lockdown, where we had to think about, really being calm as we led people through change, and also as leaders, as coaches ourselves, that ability to ask for help was so important. The next highlight I wanted to share with you with a focus on communication. And this is probably really obvious, isn't it? Because as coaches, we were always focused on communication. It's what we do, really. We help people communicate. Never, I think, has there been such an important time to really focus on our communication. And we did that through the coaching cafes this year. I love this quote by Albert Einstein, who said, "I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots." And I wondered whether, did technology, with Zoom and all this kind of stuff that we were doing, did it surpass our human interaction, or did it enable our human interaction? And I think one of the challenges and one of the lessons that we learned was, how do we embrace technology because we had to and we wanted to and it was vital? Many of us were doing it already. And at the same time, really keep that human interaction. So speaking to people on the phone, catching up as much as we could, really talking, not just emailing, texting and teaming, that kind of thing. So there were some great lessons to be learned around communication. How do we do communication that really makes a difference in terms of human interaction? That was a really lovely question that we can think about and focused on. The webinars we ran here around communication, there was quite a few. We talked about the 5 levels of communication, how to give feedback when working from home, what happens when people say, "I don't have 10 minutes of time." So we focused really on people that with all this communication, with everything that was going on, they didn't even have 10 minutes of time to focus on themselves. Of course, every year we look at a better way to do performance conversations and getting the right mindset for performance conversations. Performance conversations were a particular challenge this year, particularly with everything that we're facing through COVID and lockdown, etc. How do you maintain performance and high performance at the same time, everything that was going on with people working from home and homeschooling, looking after being primary carers of family and elderly parents, etc. There was so much going on, such a huge need to be able to communicate. The next highlight for me, I think, was our focus on mental health. And we did spend time on our coaching cafes around mental health. In fact, we did run a series of wonderful webinars, if you pick them up on our website, during Mental Health Awareness Week. That was in August, September this year. No, it was, I beg your pardon, it was in October this year. And the Open Door team raised a great amount of money, actually, for the Black Dog Institute. We had people from the Love Me, Love You Foundation talking at Mental Health Awareness Week, and we had a representative from the Black Dog Institute talking to us about mental health as well. It was such a great opportunity to focus on mental health. At Open Door, we'd always been focused on mental health. We were already running mental health first aid training courses. And this year we trained hundreds of people. The conversations we had during Mental Health Awareness Week and the conversations we had during our mental health webinars, I think, was so important. It just allowed the conversation, the reducing of the stigma, but most importantly, from a coaching point of view, gave us the skills and the knowledge that we need to help people actually move, to identify mental health issues and problems, and to have some resources necessary, or the necessary resources to actually help people, to respond to those issues we find in the workplace. So we ran webinars on how to start a conversation about mental health with a colleague, recognising the signs of anxiety and depression in the workplace. And we had a great conversation around resilience. So what does that really mean right now? What does resilience mean when we're all under so much pressure? I love this quote by Glenn Close. She said, "What mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversation." And Glenn Close has been a huge ambassador for mental health awareness in the US in particular. and initiated some new legislation, or the changing of legislation in the US around mental health awareness, which was wonderful to see. Of course, our Australian government this year poured a lot of money into mental health and into mental health organisations that support mental health. So that was wonderful to see as well, and I think a real highlight as well. So the fifth highlight is a focus on self and continuous development. And really, I'm so grateful for everyone who's come on the line each week for our coaching cafe, because this really is our weekly chance, on top of everything else we're doing, to really focus on ourselves, as leaders, as coaches, as champions of change, and of course, do that continuous development. For those of you that know me, you know that I just love Dr. Seuss. When I was little, I consumed everything that there was around Dr. Seuss. And it's still, you know, there's still so many quotes I get from Dr. Seuss that really resonate with me. This one in particular: the more that you read, the more things you will know. The more that you learn, the more places you'll go. And of course, that's from the book, Oh, the Places We Will Go, one of my favorite Dr. Seuss books. It's so important, I think, that we come together every week to actually learn from each other. And it's not just been me, you know, talking away. It's actually been learning from you as well, which I've been so grateful about. So the year we did a lot of different webinars that focused on ourselves as coaches, and also on ourselves, and then on how we actually coach as well. We looked at keeping up the momentum and motivation, breaking the procrastination, binging and perfection cycle. And of course, you all know that that was initiated because there was a lot of that going on that I was doing. Taking a 30-minute holiday was so important in September. By the time we got to September, a lot of us were actually really tired. A lot of people were saying that they couldn't take a holiday. There was nowhere to go, particularly in Melbourne. Like, what's the point of taking a holiday? There was nowhere to go. And so I really tried to demonstrate leadership here took a big lesson, I think, around taking a holiday and having a staycation. And that was such a great coaching cafe that we did together, because this year in particular, we did this, we've been doing this previously, but we really introduced a lot more meditation into our practice as well. And if there's one thing that I could offer you all, is anything you can do to get your regular meditation and mindfulness practice going. The more you do that, I think the more you'll benefit. Trends in coaching, we unpacked the global ICF coaching study, and then we spent quite a lot of time in the last few weeks looking at all the really cool tools, from our Certificate 4 in Workplace and Business Coaching, from our Diploma in Workplace and Business Coaching, of course, from our Leader as Coach programs as well. So we had a lot of fun looking at those tools as well. So let me pick up the ideas board. Let me click on that and see what you're writing in here as well. Your highlights, and oh, look at them all. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing. So, and you can see them there under our ability to adapt. So some highlights: helping others to navigate constant change and to find certainty. Didn't we do that? Absolutely. And not traveling. So how did we adapt? Having to find other ways of actually finding pleasure that didn't involve travel. I know, it's crazy, isn't it? Couldn't believe it. The massive difference from that perspective, yeah. Changing how we work, learning in remote. Oh, that's a great one too. So having to read large documents on the computer because you didn't have a printer, that's something we take for granted as well, isn't it? Absolutely. Excellent. Let me see if I can share my screen here on this as well. Then you'll be able to see those as well. There you go. Yeah, feel free to continue to type in there. It's really wonderful to see. So leading change, treating people as a whole. So realizing work isn't the only part of their world. Yeah, didn't we get an insight into people's worlds, into people's lounge rooms, into people's living rooms, you know? And that was so important, I think, to recognize that people are a whole. Thank you. Coaching can be a space of calm in a client's week. Yes, I definitely agree with you there. we found that in executive coaching in particular, that was one thing that clients didn't drop. They needed the time out. They needed that reflection time. They needed time to reflect on their leadership, how they were coaching people through change. I needed that as well. Through a number of coaching conversations that I had and different conversations with people, reflecting on how we're leading, how we're being ourselves. Are we being authentic? Are we actually leading with integrity? You know, all of those really good conversations to think about how are we doing this. Thank you. Focus on communication. I really resonate with that comment around forming some form of protocol with Teams and Zoom. So not just assuming everyone can just be contacted at any time. That's so true. I think what happened initially when we first went into lockdown, particularly in Melbourne, people were enjoying that time in the morning when they didn't have to do the commute to work. It's like, wow, I've got this 30 minutes or this hour of time. Very quickly, actually, that time got taken over by work. So straight out of the kitchen, straight into the work area. Initially, it was out of the kitchen, around the block for a bit of a walk or a bit of a bike ride or something, walk the dog. But very quickly it got taken up with work. And then it was very easy to, instead of do that afternoon commute, it was very easy actually to just walk from out of the room into the home life. So work actually for many people got extended, and we had to really think about how do we address that? How do we address people, extending their work hours because that's where they were at home. Yeah, I agree with you, Sonia. She says having to read big documents online means more on-screen time, so more fatigue and more breaks needed. Yes, really focusing on how do we take breaks and look up and look away. I found that again, even this week, I had 2 massive sessions where I was really focused intently on the screen for 2 hours each session, and I needed to really make sure I was looking up, looking away, really looking after my eye health from that perspective, isn't it? Yeah. Existing face-to-face communication patterns were amplified over technology, the helpful and the not so helpful. Yes, so we really turned a spotlight. A realization about the nuances of human communication, how to replace the water cooler moments in a virtual world. That's a really interesting comment. I think that's something we struggled with as a community. I think it's something that some people did really well. It's definitely something that was missed, was the water cooler conversations, the catching up in the corridors, the just calling in on people. That wasn't really possible. And so a lot of the coaching I did actually was how do you maintain that connection, and what water cooler conversations give us. Yeah, great comment. So picking up more of your comments there from the ideas board, a focus on mental health. So encouraging clients to allow themselves a bit of slack, letting go of the fear of missing out, perfectionism under really challenging conditions. Yeah, so mental health was actually focusing, like a focus on our own mental health, to not be so worried about perfectionism. Yeah. Ugh, I really agree with whoever wrote that. Again, the impact of social media and the need for boundaries and using the unfriend or unfollow button. Yes, I can definitely relate to that. I think one of the interesting things has been where, particularly in Victoria, when we went into lockdown for the second time, it was all about the numbers. And funnily enough, I did not look up or inquire about the numbers at all. I was just focused on, doing what I do and making a difference and that. But interestingly enough, people told me, I found out the numbers. Someone shared the numbers with me every single day. So whoever was around me was looking up the numbers and sharing the numbers. So it was really interesting about how do we block out the really heavy negativity that was coming through social media, the nastiness of some people, and really focus on what's most important. And that may have meant unfollowing people, or just, yeah, staying in our bubble, so to speak. Eleanor said, "Heart, that was me. She had great fun removing people from her feed. It saved her sanity." Yes, there was definitely a few people who I put on snooze as well. Yeah. And of course, that focus on continuous development. I love the comment around developing new or reclaiming old hobbies. How nice is it to be reclaiming those things that actually were hobbies that gave us a lot of joy, that we might have actually forgotten for a while. You know, out came the jigsaw puzzles and things like that. What a highlight for some people. Someone's shared here, for me, it was finding things to achieve that were totally in my control to balance out that things that weren't. Yeah, that's really true, isn't it? So that really featured in our executive coaching as well. It was around what is in our control. What can we control? How do we move with the environment, the changing environment, focusing on what's in our control and not getting enormously worried and concerned and upset with things that weren't in our control. Yeah. Making time for webinars and learning, etc., has been really great as well. Yes, I agree with you. So, of course, every time we've highlighted different programs, and everything that we've learned this year has been a reflection of some of our programs, like the Leader as Coach program, our mental health first aid program, our certificate, our diploma. So, of course, if you're thinking about your development for next year, then this is a great place to visit. But more than that, I really want to thank everyone who's joined us throughout the Coaching Cafe. I just love coming every Friday to connect with you all. I miss it actually when someone has to sub in for me because I'm delivering a program. And your ability to connect through this forum, to share your insights, to share great coaching questions. We've done quite a few brainstorming sessions around different topics and coaching questions to really stretch, has really been a highlight, I think, for me. Every week I look forward to coming together here in this forum. I look forward to writing the blog. I look forward to connecting with you. So I am so grateful. It's been an absolute highlight, and I want to say thank you to you all. So with that, let me say a thank you to you all, and it's so beautiful. Thank you, Blaze, and to the whole and people are thanking the whole of the Open Door team. Yeah, absolutely. I am supported by the most amazing team, and we'll be catching up for a team lunch soon. And with that, it's such a great opportunity to actually reflect on the highlights and the lessons we've learned. So thank you everyone for a wonderful, Beverly has said, thank you for a wonderful coaching year. I agree. It's been a great year of coaching. It's been a great year of learning from each other, and we've got plenty planned for next year. But first, we need to take a break, and we all need to recharge. Sonia says, a big thanks to you, Bridget, and the Open Door. It's been a great year and journey, and you've enjoyed the course and the cafe so much. That's so great to hear as well. Thanks, Blaze. Thank you. So I hope you all enjoy your holiday break, your Christmas break, connecting with family and friends. And for me, it's important not to just to talk about COVID, but talk about the highlights, talk about the things we've learned. Take the opportunity to really celebrate what you've achieved this year. Given the difficulties, there's been so many things that we've all actually achieved together. Thanks, Laylin. I hope you have a wonderful break as well. Let's focus on what we've achieved and how we celebrate. And I look forward to joining you all at our next Coaching Cafe, which will be next year. Happy holidays, everybody. And thanks once again for sharing that ideas board as well. We'll take a copy of that and download it. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next year.